Hello, everybody, and welcome to this brand new episode of Music to Live for with Shanti. I'm your host, Shanti Perpolini, and today I'm gonna talk with my American friends, Aaron King. We're gonna talk about straight edge and the music scene. So, what we're waiting for? Let's go!
Check this out. Music to live for with Shanti.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this brand new episode of Music to Live for with Shanti. I'm your host, Shanti Perpolini. Today, I'm with my friend Aaron King. Hi, Aaron. How you doing?
Oh, not bad. Good morning to you and good afternoon there.
Hey, thank you very much. Yeah, here is afternoon already. Listen, before we get into this episode, and I'm really thrilled about that, I'll let you introduce yourself for the audience.
Right on. My name is Aaron King. I'm from Buffalo, New York, in the United States. Um, Longtime musician, longtime straight edge dude. Overall just random person to be around.
Yeah, that's cool. And the straight edge things is it's a good thing because in the past, I mean now it's 2 years of podcasting, and for the people out there, the first time connecting, it's not I do a why I do this for passion, no paywalls. It's really the idea of talking with other people about my experience in the music business or with artists. But the straight edge, of course, has been one of the polar topics that always came in some episode. And in the last months, it didn't happen, so it's cool
Right.
just to bring it out again because for me it's always something important after years in the music scene, in the hardcore scene, and of course discovering straight edge, and found out that it was a very good choice for me and my life setting. But this is straight edge is one of the reason why we got in touch, and I got in the
Right.
past I got in touch with your band because now I'm gonna sum up a little bit, but and if I gonna do some mistake, just correct me because I remember there was this. I call it like for me it's like magical time. It was for me the golden era of straight edge. I was finishing my high school, and I remember finding out on MySpace Dagger Threat. No, the Seventh Dagger. Sorry, Dagger Threat
Oh,
is a
right,
band.
right.
Seventh Dagger, and there was a lot of bands. A very cool band. There was Armored for Battle.
Right.
I remember there was Rhinoceros, and I think that was your band, right?
Right. I was in Rhinoceros, yeah.
Yeah, and then there was the band of Derek Sky. I don't remember the name right now. I'm just remember. Oh, they were really, really down with the straight edge militant thing, and it
Hmm.
was pretty cool. And by the way, I did an episode with him, and it was interesting reconnect after years because it was saying, at that time we were young, we were like with this very hardcore straight
Right.
edge mentality, but keep going, building families and new connection. He lives now in here in Europe, in Germany,
What band was
and
it?
I need to check it out. Wait, wait, wait! I don't want to leave this so open like this because oh damn, because we were talking. I told him I need to do up an episode with you because I remember being one of the name in the hardcore scene that you remember clearly, and I remember there was some interesting videos where there is this guys going to a bar picking off an old friend that
Hmm.
broke the edge and then talking to the Halle. Oh yeah, it was X represent X.
Oh, was it Derek?
Yeah,
Derek Ski? Yeah.
yeah.
I love that
He
dude.
is the man, and as I said, he gave me the opportunity to interview him. We kept in contact, and we did a very, very interesting and mature dialogue about what does it mean being straight edge. Still something nowadays, but
Right.
yeah. But talking a little bit of that time, what were your memory about that?
Man, that was like to me that was like the golden age of straight edge. Like Seventh Dagger Fest, Rhinoceros and Represent. We played together a bunch of times, because he's from a town that's probably only like 3 hours from Buffalo. Like I live in Buffalo, New York. He's from Erie, Pennsylvania. So our scenes crossed over a lot. And actually, at one point, Derek played drums in Rhinoceros.
Oh,
But even before I joined the band, so there's a song that we had called All or Nothing that he actually made the drum parts for, but I recorded it because I came in like right after him. But we were always around, at the same times.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
but yeah, like I want to say, so I joined Rhinoceros around 2007, 2008. And that time, I want to say from then to probably about 2010 was like straight edge on top everywhere.
Yes.
Like in the States, it was big, it was very big. In Europe, it was huge. We toured most of the United States during that time, and we did one tour in Europe, and the straight edge scene in Europe is just awesome.
I think
And
it's a
I
kind
noticed
of different, right?
it's
In a
it's
little
very
bit,
different.
what's your live there? But sorry, I interrupt you. Finish, and
Oh,
then
you're
we
good.
can go on the topic about Europe because I noticed that of course in Europe we always lived with this idea of the American dream on
Hmm.
different levels, and yeah, I mean, when my friends introduced me to the hardcore music and then the straight edge, it was just because there was a couple of very say famous big bands in Europe where members were straight edge and vegan,
Right,
and then I start learning even more and more about the origins, America, and mentality, and bands like I don't know, Shelter or Heart Crisis. I mean, always
right,
building up H2O and everything, and then for me at that time was like connecting. Oh, I always loved that band. I always loved the band. I didn't know that they were a
right.
member of they had this philosophy into them, and it was interesting. But I had the feelings that, for example, um, for America was more like very inside of being a group. There was this idea, what does it mean being straight edge, also being even more militant than in Europe. In Europe, it was really something more ethical and always been political related.
Right.
Like I had really these feelings. So yeah.
Yeah, and like touring throughout the US and just like seeing the different scenes and everything. Um Certain places I think are more militant, other places just like, hey, we're just straight edge.
Hmm.
Um I want to say, there's like different groups, there's different crews and just also just different scenes in general. Like everybody kind of had their own vibe.
Hmm.
Like, you go to California, completely different vibe than, like in Ohio or something like that. So Buffalo, I think the straight edge scene really built up in Buffalo with Rhinoceros. It's kind of like they kind of went hand in hand at that time. And, that era of that scene, a lot of the kids were younger, a lot of high school kids. A lot of them aren't straight edge anymore. A lot of them dropped out of the scene. It was like certain venues, certain bands and stuff, but Rhinoceros at that time was really the main hardcore band that was touring.
Hmm.
So it brought more attention back to Buffalo and like kind of putting Buffalo back on the map in the hardcore scene. At that time, mainly the bigger bands touring were Every Time I Die, and I think It Dies Today was still touring and stuff like that. So a lot of like metalcore and like more of like pushing towards the mainstream of like heavy music
Hmm.
was going on, but like kind of just that mid-level, like kind of grassroots hardcore. Rhinoceros was pretty much the main thing going on at that time. There were other bands touring, but there was definitely no other straight edge bands touring for sure.
Hmm.
There really wasn't. There were other straight edge bands in Buffalo at that time, but mainly younger and just kind of local. But yeah, we were the only ones that were like kind of always gone, always out, representing, waving carrying the flag for Buffalo and also just for straight edge in the US and stuff too. So it was cool.
Yeah.
And I think at that time it's like watching the scene from like I say 2007 to 2009, very very strong scenes across the country. California, we always had good shows in Cali, and but like I want to say 2010 things kind of started to take a dip. Just it always goes. The music scene's always ebbs and flows. It's just natural. So you have highs and you have lows. We went through a lot of lows. We lost like one of our stronger kind of like DIY venues around that time. I want actually that was 2011. But stuff happens. You just kind of regroup and keep going. That's all you can do.
Yes, and even the mentality, I think straight edge. I mean, with Seven Dagger, I really love the fact that they had a strong merch business, and I still have like a couple of items, and
Mhm.
for me, it's like a reliquia, like almost religious because they're really cool.
Right.
And I was seeing on Facebook some people just posting, "Oh yeah, I'm giving away these hoodies and stuff like this," but um it was really interesting because I think hardcore music, the hardcore scene wasn't not so trendy like what is now
Right.
20 years later. Less impact on what is the fashion side, I will say. Where of course if you were wearing a band t-shirt, of course it was a sign that you were into music or a specific genre. And now, and nothing bad about that, but now it's normal that young kids and people are wearing music shirts, band shirts, like just like a normal identity beside the true heart of a music scene.
Right.
And I remember meeting Armored for Battle here in Europe
Mhm.
because they toured with an Italian band called Awoken Demons.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And in that tour we spent a little bit time together, and I also met one of my best friends ever thanks to that tour. And it was a very nice moment at that time in one of the city in Switzerland is really small. I think it's like a small US state if we want to compare. And
Right.
everybody know everybody's, and at that time there was also a vegan straight edge crew, quite militant in the city of Zurich. And so we had a very interesting show with a lot of moshing and violent dancing. And then, as you said, time change, and I had this feeling that I don't know, for because the hardcore scene is there to me. I kind of noticed that okay, we are having good bands. We have bands that are jumping in other scene and connecting with other music, and that's totally cool if you're an artist. Of course,
Right.
this evolution, artistic speaking, and then now it's coming back. We have a lot of bands that are becoming so-called mainstream. And when I use the term mainstream, I mean just they are more in this era of social media, just more easy to reach, or they are
Right.
everybody have already listened to at least once, just a snippet of Kublai Khan, or like for Turnstile or
Right.
Knock Loose. Even if you're not in the hardcore music. And um, and this is definitely something that gave a brand new kick in the music scene. As you said, I also have friends that for example, they quit being straight edge, but they still listen to the music, or people that just almost really just don't want to have nothing to do with the music and hardcore scene.
Yeah.
It's extreme, but at the same time, uh, I take the time even more nowadays to call some friends or meet some friends on the streets and start talking and of the different topic that somebody could talk. It was like, hey, do you remember that concert? Or do you still listen to that? And
Right.
maybe we spend 1 hour just talking about music. And last but not least, there is a lot of young guys. I can just shout out the band Jorelia from Milano, or I think it's from Bologna. I mean, from north of Italy.
Right.
And it's so cool because they are building a solid, yes, hardcore scene, but also straight edge movement.
Gotcha.
And I think it's cool because for me, straight edge always been a positive thing. Of course, when I was maybe more rebel, I also more enjoyed this kind of no, yeah, I would say yeah, I gonna use the word violence, but like being a little bit more pushy, like but more in the mosh pit related. I'm not the kind of
Right.
person who
Yeah.
would have been go out and say, "Hey, why are you smoking?" and slap somebody in the face, you know.
Right. Yeah.
But I like this kind of being proud of this message.
I did that. I did that once as a joke to a friend.
Okay. Yeah, you see, I think this is something because we grew up with this imagine and we saw. I mean, for us in Europe, America, what that was that. I mean,
Right.
straight edge, some street fights at the outer side of our venues in between this and that, and it's
Right.
something that here in Europe you wouldn't see because straight edge always been the losers of the scene here, honestly. So young bands, young mentality, and as I said, I kind of nostalgic about the merchandise we have, um, and I think it's so positive that there's this brand new reborn of the scene. But at the same time, I want to be honest with you, with all the audience. I don't know if the effect of getting slowly older, growing older, but you definitely notice that it's the scene you know, but you don't recognize yourself 100%
Oh,
in that
absolutely.
one.
Yeah. Right.
And I don't know, it's I don't know how always curious when I have a guest on the podcast coming different, not just from Europe, but in this case from the States, to better understand what's going on. Because what I see through social media is something, but what is in real life being there?
So something I noticed in like, especially because social media is such a big part of the scene now. Like, when I was touring, mainly MySpace was still a thing, and you had to go in person. You might see some videos on YouTube. YouTube was like it. That was like the mecca of whatever band you were looking for. Like, is if you couldn't see them in person, you saw it on YouTube. Now everything's on Instagram. It's on Facebook. Everyone has Reels now, TikTok, and you get a lot more exposure to things internationally and even like just in your own country and stuff like that too. So you see a lot more of different scenes that you're exposed to now, and that has a lot of influence on the current hardcore scene and just music in general. So like I want to say every region had like their own style of like if we just want to talk about moshing, every city, every region had their own style of moshing. Now it's like a free for all and no one has any style. Like
Mhm.
basically it's like if you went to Erie, Erie had like more, I want to say Erie in Ohio kind of had more violent, Erie was known as like the place where there was a lot more crowd, what they call crowd killing now, just
Mhm.
beating the piss out of everybody. It was kind of like, jailhouse rules almost. California, um, Cali was a little different. I always noticed that like kids would mosh in like a diagonal line. So a kid started at the front of the room on the right hand corner and end up in the back left corner. I was just like, so I've always been a very observant person. So I'm just like watching like different scenes, different cities and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, Ohio likes to throw chairs and break stuff. Ohio was always fun for us. Especially shout out to Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah,
We we
I
played
I need
we
I need to
played there
check.
like every tour for Rhinoceros
Oh,
for the years that I was in it. We literally would either start or end in Cincinnati. But
nice.
that was just like our other home.
Yeah, I need to shout out to the friends in Salt Lake City because they show me sometimes what happened in that corner of the country, and yeah, there's a lot of moshing, a lot of violent dancing, and now we were talking about this. This is a very interesting topics because I always been a fan of moshing or and stage diving, and in the last
Right.
year here in Switzerland even more venues just say, hey, we don't want stage dive anymore, or like this. At least it's really, a talk openly with the band. Yeah, in our set, people wants to do this. Let's take the example when Terror come to Switzerland.
All
Um,
stage dives.
who organized the events knows that that's gonna be stage diving. I've been on tour with a band, and they said, we want our concert to be a safe space, so no stage diving, it's better. And then I use the word that I want to discuss with you, when because nowadays this word safe space is used in a lot.
Right.
And of course here you can open two different doors. We can talk about the one, like safe space, like okay, you are in a concert, and if you stay in the front row or in a mosh pit, is you this is
It's
not a
not safe.
safe space. It's
It's
not
not
safe.
safe space.
Let's be
Yeah.
honest. And it's always been like this. I know there's people that started to want willing to change this, but this is the true reality, the cruel reality is that hardcore, it's called hardcore scene for one
For a
reason.
reason. Yeah.
It's hard, it's heavy, it's hard in different ways. And then there is the other door, safe space, about what is respect for people. Nowadays, through social media, we are more open to talk about how people feelings, how people want to be treated. And of course, for me, for example, hardcore scene, punk scene, always been related with a lot of respect.
Right.
And it was interesting because from where I come from, small part of Switzerland, I remember going to concert with people that I knew they were like supporter of right ideologies, semi-fascist and fascist related to the Italy reality.
Right.
And but we were sitting in the same room, we were talking, and um, I don't know, I never really been discriminated for the color of my skin and going to the concert.
Right.
Au contraire, this was the interesting part. We were there for the music, for the concert, and we just left behind some parts of our, I don't know, ideas or way you want to look like, because how
Right.
straight edge could be cool. For some people, maybe could be, and when they are 16 or 20, could be cool, be part of with a neo-Nazi band because they feel belonging to something bigger. I think this is also what's this topic. Even about Alex Terrible nowadays in social media, everybody is disputing whatever I've done or who he is right now and everything. And
Right.
there is a lot of chit chatting. What is safe space? And for me, for example, is really it comes not with the idea of setting rules like. Oh, we need to do this, and having like a set list that you need to follow, but it's about rediscover your principle and thinking, yeah, when I'm with other people,
Right.
what is important to me as a straight edge. I don't care if my friend is going out to smoking a joint
Right.
or taking a beer or a shot of something. The most important thing is he's safe, he's happy, we're having a good time, and we respect each other and everything. This is for me. But it's not that it's related really to us to like okay, before I go out from home I need to remember these 3 points. It's
Right.
really coming from my heart, and this is the scene I lived. And now when I go to concerts sometimes, I don't really know how to act, honestly. Like, of course, being myself, but really, I don't know. It's always hard because there is also fear to do something, or I don't know. I know there is a lot of very good people out there, men and women, but it's like a knife that I don't know. It's in English the same, like a double-edged knife. Like it can
Oh yeah,
cut yourself.
double edged sword, we call it,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you. And because in some ways you know that you want to do something good, but at the same time it seems that whatever you do, there is always somebody saying, "Yeah, but you totally forget about this and that."
Right. Um Also, you mentioned Salt Lake City. Salt Lake is one of my favorite places. Like people wise, just the scene. Like I played in two touring bands that both played in Salt Lake City, and just those are just still some of my favorite people. And just even setting, I love the mountains, so I'd like anywhere mountain. Switzerland was dope for that too.
Mhm.
Um, but as far as like safe space and just kind of how that plays into things now, hardcore. I feel like for me, hardcore safe space is just any and everyone's welcome. That's the safe space of it. But when you get to a hardcore show, there is a violent element.
Mhm.
Moshing is violent through and through. It's just fun to hit your friends. and strangers. You make friends that way. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I've made friends in the mosh pit. You know, I hit somebody with a shopping cart at a show once. Wild times, but he loved it.
Shopping car. Yeah.
Yeah, there. So I don't know if you ever heard the band Weekend Nachos.
Yes, it is.
So Weekend Nacho shows got really insane for some reason in Buffalo, like iconically insane. And there was one show where one of my best friends he bought pool noodles, like the water pool noodles. He bought a trampoline, put it on the stage, and we just found various items throughout this DIY space. One was a shopping cart, one was a heavy bag, and I brought both into play. You know, and that was like so much fun. The singer from Weekend Nachos just kept jumping on the trampoline on stage. Kids were stage diving off of it. You know, just good fun, just a lot of fun. You know, and like people from the outside looking in and were like, "Oh my God, what's wrong with them?" Like these people are crazy. They're violent. They're probably domestic terrorists and blah blah blah. You know, they're all in gangs. You know, if you say straight edge to people like outside looking in, they think straight edge is a gang or whatever. And I'm just like, yes, I'm just kidding. But like, I like just to mess with people like, yeah, it is a gang. You should watch out. But it's not. And when people get an understanding of what it means, like I'm like, oh, I'm straight edge, or like having to explain that to people like, no, it's just a drug free. Like we don't smoke, we don't drink, we don't do drugs like that. That's just a lifestyle choice. For me, it's never. I have a lot of friends that are into other things. For me, straight edge just works for me. I've never preached at anybody. I've never held it against anybody. It's like just don't be belligerently, hanging off of me when you're drunk. Because drunk people love to hug me. I'm just a huggable guy. I'm a big dude, so they think I'm a teddy bear when they're drunk. I don't know. So, and but yeah, like I love talking to people in different subgenres. Most of my friends aren't straight edge, and I'm okay with that. So I don't hang out with a lot of people in general. I'm just kind of I like when I'm out, I'm sociable. When I'm not out, I'm very like antisocial and just kind of more to myself, especially like after COVID. And I think COVID plays into a lot of why the scene is the way it is now. Kids were cooped up, man. Like, and when things started opening back up, I think I hate to say it this way, but COVID was a good thing in many regards because it was like a reset for people.
Hmm.
People started rethinking their career choices. They started rethinking
Oh
their life
yeah,
choices.
definitely.
And, bands had to pivot. I will give Code Orange the biggest credit for the best pivot during COVID. Live streaming shows, getting more like artistic with it. And I thought that was really cool, like kind of creating more of a cinematic universe for it. And I thought that was dope.
Hmm.
And I encouraged a lot of people during that time. They're like, what am I supposed to do without touring? I'm like, dude, you gotta pivot. You can't just because something's been done so long. It's like that's just kind of like a hardcore mentality to me. Just because something's been done the same way for a long time doesn't mean you can't like do something different. Like shit, man, grow a grow a creative conscious,
Hmm.
And but it also once the doors started reopening, the world kind of unsealed, people appreciated things more like live concerts and live events. So it was a resurgence because everything had kind of got watered down because I think it's just human nature. You take advantage, you take for granted things that are just always there. I live in an area we have Niagara Falls is really close to us. So
Hmm.
Niagara Falls is one of the wonders of the world. For us, it's just, yeah, it's just the falls,
Yeah.
but you take for granted things for like just anything in life because it's just always there, but when it's gone you're like, man, damn, I really miss this. And I think that helped push hardcore to the next level and kind of getting a more mainstream attention. All of a sudden on social media everything's taken off, so you have bands like Speed
Yeah.
became a band during COVID, and man, they opened when the doors opened, man, they just took off.
Oh yeah.
It's Speed has a deal with with Nike in Australia. That's insane. Like I've never thought I would see a commercial for a sneaker company that involved hardcore. You're hearing hardcore on video games. You're seeing hardcore played in just background music and TV shows
Oh
now. It's
yes.
it's like wild.
Cool.
I was watching a show called Shorzy, and there was a Death Heaven track in like one scene. I was like, "What's going on? This is amazing." Speed is like on the WWE soundtrack for their newest video game. I'm like, "This is so cool." I'm like playing a video game. Speed just keeps coming on. I'm like, "That's so dope."
Yeah.
Turnstile too. Knocked Loose. Collaborating with Poppy, like playing Coachella, which is just like one of the biggest music events here. Period. It's wild to see, but it's really cool. But with that, like we had talked before, like with that also comes like, then the scene kind of start getting watered down because it's like like it's a double-edged sword. Like we said, there's the positive light of like more eyes on bands, to make even a living out of this, in the heavy music scene, which is cool. And it's cool that like it's more acceptable, but it also kind of like tarnishes like the nah man, this is for the outsiders.
Mm.
So you might see somebody who, we call a normie rocking a some hardcore band shirt or like talking about church. Like, why do you even know who that is? That's not you. Get out of here. But it's like when you say you create a safe space and this is for everybody, you kind of got to mean that. There's certain like unwritten rules like the racism and stuff like that. We're like we don't tolerate a lot of that. Some scenes do. Other scenes, you might get your ass kicked,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm all for. As another person of color, screw that noise. I don't want it. I don't want it around me. It's for everybody, but it's for anybody, but everybody ain't welcome. Like that kind of mentality, the hatred, just bigotry and all that stuff. There's no place for that shit.
No, definitely no.
You go to I don't know, wherever those people go.
Yeah, but
Somewhere
I
else.
I think that first of all, about the idea when you explain about straight edge to people, even nowadays, being a grown-up man, you go maybe to a dinner work. I used to tour with the orchestras, so like
Right.
maybe when you have a day off, you're hanging out with 30 people and even more like this, and so oh yeah, let's go have a drink and something like this, and then you go, oh, you don't drink, and no, thank you very much. I get to say. Oh, so you are a Muslim or I don't know. I say,
Right.
no, I'm just a normal guy. Just I don't like it. I don't drink it. And then honestly, and then if they ask the reason why, I say, yeah, I'm straight edge, man. And then it's funny because there was somebody told me, oh, it's I think it's I mean it's not fun and cool that you don't drink. It's a personal choice, of course. It's
Right.
just that here in Switzerland, um, it's kind of tradition, like drink one beer after work and everything, and or on the weekend having fun in that way.
Right.
But and then when I say no, but I'm straight edge, and they say, Shanti, I really like when you told me that about that because I see that you like empower the thing. You know
Right.
what you're talking about. I say, yeah, that's me. It's for me was the biggest connection between my daily life, like how I want to be, being healthy, doing this and that, just I mean, I'm a straight edge that I got this idea that okay, I drink coffee because I don't think coffee really alterate my body and my mind in
Right.
that aggressive way. But at the same time, I know I said, guys, you need to find your inner balance, And then I had this huge passion for music that come from my family and brought me here now, saying, yeah, I'm working freelancing with bands and different sphere of music in between modern and classical and everything. So it fits together because it wasn't just being abstinent from substances. Oh yeah, that's cool, but it was like, no, it has to do with music. I mean, and
Right.
for me that was the connection. Say that fits right, and even nowadays I feel like, okay, no, it was the right choice for me. It was one of the most important, I think, one of those moments in life where you discover who you are, and then you say, yeah, years later I can say it's the same. But the fact about safe space now here in Europe, Switzerland. I'm mother tongue Italian, so that's why I know better what's going on in Italy and the north part of Italy that's at the border with Switzerland.
Right.
Um, the fact that now we have, in whole Europe, rise up of the right parties and
Right.
sadly, even the mentality. I start seeing that in the hardcore scene and rock scene. Of course, there always been this idea we don't tolerate this because we want this respect that going both ways, but at the same times, a lot of people starting closing their eyes, and on some dynamics and I'm very critical, for example, and I know that some people are gonna call me maybe a gatekeeper or something like this, but I don't know. I don't. For me, I think it's always that these trends on TikTok on one side brings bands to a major audience. That's
Right.
amazing because if somebody wants to leave the hearts of the music, they need to sell something. Like it could be merchandise, could be the music nowadays. CDs still a business. You if you
Right.
produce a LP, then this is gonna sell very good. But things are changing a little bit, and so finding new dynamics.
Hmm.
And at the same time, I watch these videos of I don't know last track of Knock Loose with Poppy. Yes, nice. I mean, I have to be honest. I think the band is very interesting, but it's not my cup of tea.
Right.
But I think that everybody just focuses on the fact that you can twerk on this on this
Yeah.
small breakdown a little bit. Remind
I
a
am
little
I
bit
am
of.
perfectly fine with twerking to hardcore music.
Yes, but I don't know.
I'm awful.
What I want to say just that sometimes when the fact is that I see this and it seems as oh yeah, this is our core scene. Like this is why it's important. This is why that's cool. Of course
Right.
that's part of like just these videos of these two sisters. Kudos to them because with their simple trend, that like oh you can create really a new mind setting. Like there is this song from Slipknot that is just like vibing like this, but. At
I've seen them. I just recently saw the like the two sisters you're talking like they're like kind of two goth looking sisters.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I was just like, what is this? And awesome.
Of course, I got mixed feelings, honestly,
Yeah,
because from one side I
it's like this is
respect totally the idea because
right.
this is a new way to promote something or do something. So this is your generation thing. I got
Right.
mine, fine. But at the same times, because I really love this scene, I don't know. I really hope that this video will just stay like for many people just a funny video or entertaining video, but brings you
Right.
like, oh, wait, I want to go know more about this music. I want to know more about this band. I want to know more
Sure.
about what's going on, really.
Absolutely.
That's my paradigm right now, and sometimes I'm kind of struggling out to be honest because I
Right.
don't I don't want to go out and looking like the tough guy or something. There's nothing. Who am I? But I really love the scene I grew up because it taught me so much, not just about music, but about life with the people I
Right.
met. The fact me and you, we are here talking about our experiences. Like it's so profound to me that I also think that social media just make things way too likely or not. No, I still don't understand it. It's really like a door where people then walking through that they really want to know more. As I
Right.
did, I remember my friends giving me a fanzine at the time or a CD of that band, and then I started going to the rabbit hole and everything. I
Right.
really hope that this is the case with social media nowadays.
Right. Like I remember so like the way I always found bands was like if there was a band that I liked, friends introduced me to like certain bands like when I first got into it, like I got into hardcore, metalcore, metal, whatever, and straight edge all when I was 13 years old. And it was just like for me, I grew up in like a Christian home and going to church and stuff like that. And so I didn't drink or anything anyway, but I was too young to really do so. But kids get a hold of anything.
Hmm.
But when I found that, it was like an explosion in my brain. I was going to a youth group, and some kids that I went to youth group with were into hardcore. Some of them were straight edge and stuff. So I got introduced to that all at the same time. I was like, oh wow, there's a word for that. I was like, well, I already do. Like, I'm already living that life. So like to have an identity to grasp to that lifestyle was just like the coolest thing to me.
Yes.
And when I heard hardcore, it's like I think I've always been like a friendly person, but I always kind of had a violence in my head. When I heard hardcore for the first time, I was like, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like having that heavy guitars, heavy drums, and all that, and the screaming. It was just like people don't understand how calming like heavy music can be, and it's just because it's like when your emotions match what you're hearing, it gives you a kind of like a certain kind of peace. I want to say for me, like that's where like I felt like I was at home.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing those heavy, hearing that heaviness in music, and I was just like, wow, this is so cool and like so refreshing because you don't hear any of that on the radio. You don't hear any of that talked about. I want to go into high school, walking around, hoodie, black hoodie, hood up, headphones on. Everybody was like, what's that kid's deal? Especially because it was like such a smooth transition for me. It was like, I listened to, I liked some edgier stuff, like radio stuff, but when I heard that, it was just like a whole new presence for me. And I would start going to the thank yous of CDs, like, all right, who's this band that I like thanking? I'm like, well, that name sounds cool. That name sounds cool. All right, I'm gonna go check these bands out, And mp3.com was a huge thing when I was in high school. I would just sit for hours just looking up bands, like, looking up subgenres of hardcore and metalcore and all that stuff, and just deep diving, like you say, going down the rabbit hole. And that was cool, man. Like I love that. I love the detective work of finding new bands and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And to a
right.
point, I still do. But now it's like it's so much more accessible. You don't have
Oh,
to really do the work. You can like one band and then like places like Spotify and Apple Music, they'll just populate playlists for you. If you listen to like two bands that sound like this, they'll give you all these different bands. Like you're not it's taking all the guesswork out of it, which is part of the fun. It's cool to have that, but going through bands thank yous, like I still have all like most of my CDs from high school and college. I'm like, okay, well, we're thinking this band, and names sound cool too. It's like you're just like, well, Shai Hulud sounds like a cool name.
mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
or it's like, oh well, Zayo's thinking this band's thinking that band. Okay, cool, 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 cool. Then you're checking out the labels they're on, like, all right, this band looks cool. That sounds cool. All right, cool. So you're like you're curating your own playlist, based on like who's thinking who, and like that was huge back in the day. Just going like straight to the end of the CD booklet, looking at the thank yous, so like, all right, so these are all the bands I need to check out. So
Yeah.
this band, I really like this band, and if they're thanking these guys, they must be good. So
Yeah, I remember going to a store, a music store. And it's funny because I noticed that nowadays, of course, there is some here in Europe or in Switzerland, it's called Media Markt. You can buy everything you want, electronics from
right,
computer, phones, and everything from the house and everything. And they still have a section with CDs and LPs. LPs is
right,
incredible. They sell a lot. I was asking to a guy that working there, hey, but it's worthy. I mean, for you, like saying, yeah, yeah, people coming in to check it out, and I see they buy LPs, and it's cool.
yeah,
Um, but I think that there is like a huge part of the audience that don't know that there was like store full of CDs, and you just go
exactly.
there, you just scroll it in between, and then many of the band I discovered was because they got like a badass artwork, and
Yep.
or and for me, I want to bring this out. For me, one of the bands that makes the difference. Um, Even because I was watching other podcasts recently,
Mhm.
and there's always this question to musicians or people that are into the music business, which albums were the life changer, game changer. And I was thinking, what would I answer? So I think that I can tell you, Offspring's Americana and
Okay.
Converge Concubine. I mean,
Yeah,
no,
that
Jane
Jane.
Doe. Jane
Yeah,
Doe.
I have a Jane Doe banner on my wall, dude. Like I love Converge's artwork.
I got it too. I got a tattoo too. But I remember for Offsprings, it was the fact that I remember seeing it on the TV. the video of Pretty Fly, and I remember this riff, and in my mind just made click. I knew there was some. I liked rock music. I like distorted guitars and everything, but it was like in the clouds, everything a little bit this, a melody this and that. But when I watch this and listen to that specific track, I say, "Oh, that sound is interesting. I need to know more."
Right.
So, and then I went to listen to a lot of Californian punk rock, jumping to Europe bands that at the time, with no Wikipedia or like this, I thought all these guys are American, but no, Millen Collin are from Sweden.
Oh,
No,
right
no
on.
Fan at all are from Sweden too. There is a lot of Europe bands from Europe. They're really cool, and so I got this one. And then I remember this friend of mine, also at the time, Stride Edge, a lot into hardcore. It gave me an album of one of the first album of the hardcore band, metalcore band from Europe, Caliban. And then it gave me another band from Belgium called Morda
Okay.
and Converge. And I remember the first time I listened to the CD, where and it started with Concubine, and I say, "What's going on?" And this for me was like the drop into artcore, and that's because mostly because I never heard that kind of power and violence in music
Right.
that it felt so right, and then from there, of course, Converge is kind of an extreme example because in their way to be unique, they're kind of really extreme
Right.
musicians. But it opened the door to go and discover other bands, maybe more melodic. For me, melody is very important. I love it.
Same.
Um, and then growing up, of course, discovering band. I got my emo period that's still going on nowadays. But like
Right.
there is a lot of bands and now. Maybe when you were a teenager, you were a little bit. When you said, "Oh yeah, I love Atreyu" or "I love this band," people say, "Oh, that's I don't like that shit." That's no.
Right.
But then 20 years later, so you say, "Oh, that's cool, still cool, there's still
Right.
a meaning." And the fun part is that 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, I had the chance to work for 30 Second to Mars here
Oh,
in
nice.
Switzerland. And it was so crazy to be near the stage, like this, and to see Jared Leto on stage, even because once again, social media breaks
Right.
broke you Jared Leto's an actors and everything. You see it everywhere, and then it's there. It's near me during the meet and greet, and everything. It's there, and then he's singing "Beautiful Eye" or "The Kill,"
Right.
and man, so much respect because those songs are out since a lot of time, I would say, and they were singing that with so much passion, and I got the respect for 30 Second to Mars even higher because it wasn't just like, okay, I'm here, I'm a good looking guy, I can sing, and that
Right.
they
Right.
really gave the best. And by the way, I was working with a good friend from Netherlands that he was doing the tour officially with the band, and he was looking a little bit behind the back of Jared when he went into the audience and everything, and he
Right.
told me, "Hey man, I never see you like this, but he jump into the audience like really, head down, head first, like if
Like a
you want to
stage dive.
open the pit, and he said, and I look at him and say, yeah, he's one of us, like, and this is kind of things that make me laugh so hard because as we said to now, we took different paths in life, we
Right.
change, of course, grow up, but I think some passion still, and I think in somewhere in the mind of Jared Leto, this passion for the roots in the hardcore
Right.
still there somewhere.
It's always funny because like the more like things go on, you find out a lot of people have like roots in hardcore and like the punk and metal scene and stuff, and it's awesome. And so yeah, it's wild. Like and also just yeah, artwork is a huge was a huge factor too. Like finding different bands, you're like, oh, that's cool. That's a cool artwork. I really liked uh everything Jacob Bannon artistically does, like for art. But man, like you're right. When you hear Concubine for the first time open up that Jane Doe album, it's just like this, like even just those opening guitar riffs is so violent sounding.
Yeah, right?
It's like, man, it sounds like somebody's about to die. Just like you're it's like you like buckle in because you're in for it. It's just like I don't know, like I've always been drawn more to like the more metallic side of hardcore and also very dissonant and kind of chaotic sounding.
Hmm.
So man, that album was still one of my favorite listens because it's just like front to back just flawless. And
Yeah.
like bands like Dillinger Escape Plan were big for me too. I like that fast, just chaotic pace. But like I like some straightforward hardcore, but I always lean more towards stuff with more metal influence, and I do like a lot of melodic riffs and stuff like that. Like melody is huge for me. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's cool to see. But like finding out bands like more mainstream bands like Fall Out Boy, all
Hmm.
those dudes grew up in hardcore and punk.
Yeah.
The drummer I believe is straight edge and he plays in like hardcore bands still, which I thought was really cool to find out. And for me, a big thing too, I worked at a record store for like 8 years, man. Like seeing, CDs were cool, but there's something just so more precious and valuable about vinyl. LPs, EPs, 7-inch, anything on wax, man. It's like more. I feel like you're more accomplished when you have records. And I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's something I guess also with the aesthetic.
Yeah.
Because and there is it's not just marketing, I think. It's
Right.
really in the nature of human beings. There's some things that create that they still, yeah, that's it.
Right.
You can't change it. And I totally not into vehicles, mechanics, and motors.
Hmm.
But I can tell you, a friend of mine is a huge fan of old timers, and it has one of these Mustang, really with this motor that really sounds like an airplane,
Right.
and I don't know nothing. I can just say the aesthetic of the car is cool or not. But I when I saw the car, I turned it on and I say, man, I understand why you like this format,
Right.
and in some ways this is also the same things with LPs, I think, because of course if you have the chance and the economic capability to buy us a good sound audio, I would say, yeah, something for home audio, home sounding
Right.
and everything. You really experience that it is different, the quality, the way you live, the feelings.
Right. For LPs, it's like there's some people who are you have to find a balance with records because there are some people who get like the purest sounding like expensive stereo equipment
Yeah.
and it's like it almost ruins it. Like if you get like a decent sounding one, you're good. But I had a customer who was just like a purist for records, man. Like he only would buy like certain weighted records, like they had to be in certain format. And I'm like, dude, like that's too much. It's like if you're that detailed on it, because it's like it brings out any imperfections. Like for me, I love the sound of like a record, that little record hissing in the background.
Hmm.
Like that's to me, that's part of the aesthetic. Like I want to hear the little pops every once in a while, and it's that kind of crinkle paper sound.
Yeah.
It's like good enough speakers, like a decent turntable. Like the record player I have, I had a customer, like an older couple, they were getting rid of the records and they gave me a record. They gave me a record player. I was like, they're like, yeah, we don't need it. We have one at home and we just want somebody, just to have it. Like you can have it if you want. I'm like, oh, dope. That's awesome. So I still have it to this day. And I got it years ago.
No,
So yeah.
it's the experience, not just the fact how do you listen to the music, how
Hmm.
you discover it, but also going to concert. Like I remember this is interesting. The fact that I had some older friends that brought me to concert for the first time. So it
Right.
was kind of a ritual. Really, you're part of the scene of the you are like, hello, you're always welcome. But it was like, now this is your kingdom,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
so kind of like a Lion King shit. But um I don't know. Do you think that the young generation looking at concerts, it's really they really wants to witness this experience. And I means like not just okay, I need to go to Coachella because it's the hypest festival on earth. I need to go there. So giving okay, I've been there, I was there,
Right.
or it's like oh the result of this idea. Oh no, oh this band play a Coachella. Oh they're gonna play like 1 hour from my place. I know I never been the venues, or I know the venue, and I go there with some friends, and then they try the experience. I would be really curious to better understand that because I don't know. As I said, I got my introduction into the live music scene, but through all this social media nowadays, do you think it could be the same effective?
You know, I something I noticed like I just started kind of like going to shows more here and there again. And seeing a lot of younger kids, man, they it's just it's kind of odd to see, but a lot of like the fashion styles and stuff look straight out of like the mid to late 90s. Like and like these are kids in high school. I'm like, that's bizarre. It's like because it looks like they look like how things looked like when I was in high school. And like early, late 90s, early 2000s. But a lot of that feel is coming back. So a lot of younger kids are searching back.
Mm-hmm.
So I think things like records and things like that will continue to stay like a cool thing because a lot of younger kids are getting into it just because it's a cool aesthetic.
Yeah.
Even just like things that they might get introduced through social media, hopefully it just means more to them once they're involved in whatever they're getting into. For hardcore, it's still like that cool kind of like you said, kind of like the losers club type thing. So it's kind of for like the outcast of society. And it's a place where basically everybody can just, can hang out and feel not feel like an outsider for once. It's like you're with a group of people that look like you, may sound like you, but it's still in a diverse way.
Mm-hmm.
It's being in seeing the hardcore scene now, there's definitely a lot more kids of color and minorities and stuff like that, and that's awesome to see. When I first got into the hardcore scene, I remember the first local show I went to, I was like, all right, no, there's maybe okay, I saw another black dude, that's awesome. So at
Mm-hmm.
least I saw two other
Yeah.
people that might look like me, and like throughout the years, you saw that number increase from like two or three, where it was like now you might see half and half crowd, or like in double digits maybe. So I think that's amazing. I remember the first time I went to Europe, I was very like hesitant. I was like, am I gonna stick out like a sore thumb like everywhere I go? But being in Europe, you see it's more of a melting pot. Certain places definitely you're gonna stick out like a sore thumb. I like go to Eastern Europe. A
Yeah.
lot of them have never met black people in real life, which was hilarious for me because like I remember I played Estonia and like Romania like areas. Dude, I was like a celebrity when I was there. It
Yeah.
felt really odd, but like people from the town, not even at the show, were coming to take pictures with me just because like they've literally never met a
Yeah.
person of color in real life. I'm like, this is another one of those things you take for granted. Is just like, oh yeah, there are places in the world that have never seen anybody like me outside of TV. So
Yeah.
it's just like those culture shocks. It's like I kind of thrived on it because it's like I feel like I tell everybody this. I'm like, if you have an opportunity to travel abroad, please do. You will have a much better perspective on life
Yeah,
because
I think it's important.
we take our our comforts for granted of things we're just used to seeing, and we just assume that it's this way everywhere, and it's not. So
Um,
I think I toured Europe twice, and over the years through different bands, and it's one of the most refreshing things I've ever done.
mhm.
Going to places where a lot of people don't speak English, and having to be able to communicate for yourself, you know, and learning to do so differently than you would at home. So I always thought that was really cool. I remember getting sick on tour, having to go in a grocery store I think I was in the Czech Republic, and having to almost like play charades with the people at the pharmacy trying to get cold medicine. I'm like, like they keep
Yeah,
pointing to
there's
cough drops. I'm like, no,
mm,
I need like cough syrup. So I Google translated. That's like game changer.
Yeah,
So I just did Google Translate, wrote it out, showed them, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, it's right there."
it's right here. Yeah, yeah. No,
So
the
just going through different things like that, I just thought was really cool. Being in countries where people want to practice their English with you,
mhm.
and being patient and just being like, "This is cool," because it's like it's different for them. I let a kid I met at a show in Austria. He's like, if it's cool, can I practice my English with you? I was like, absolutely, let's do this. He'd be like trying to find words and be like, I'm sorry. I'm like, dude, don't apologize. You're doing great. Just not taking those things for granted and just exploring things differently and having a different mindset. And I think it's kind of like my same approach for hardcore is like just being open to experience different people and kind of having a more appreciation for life in general.
No, it's important. Like for example, the idea that we have from the States here, like, is
Mhm.
that the society there is kind of really got this idea of being very proud of the country and what they did in the last 100 years and everything, and we have in Europe too nowadays. Even more people keep talking about how huge Europe what 80 years ago, but 80 years ago was Second World War. So,
Right.
like it's kind of tricky part, and I think that having the chance really to see this different, like I was on tour in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark,
Mhm.
and Denmark. Wait, my geography is Denmark is at the border with Sweden,
Okay.
and there is just between Copenhagen and Malmö, there is just like a bridge.
Right.
So it's like a 20 minutes ride. It's not like far away. And
Right.
I was so intrigued because Danish people spoke English with Swedish people, and I thought, wait, your country one side to another, nobody speak, because
Right. Right.
Switzerland we have this fact that we speak three languages in one country.
Okay.
So at
Fun.
school, you learn a little bit of all of three, and then you should hope you go. Uh, you learn a little bit more. You choose one of the German or French, and
Right.
that's it. And I had the chance, the lucky to grow up in the Italian part, so I got Italian already as a mother tongue. I learned this and that plus English, and so for me, it's normal that you go in the country and in this region they speak
Right.
French. I can communicate a little bit, or I can't communicate. But I mean, Teresa, you already have already in your mind a little bit of knowledge. But and then you go like in Eastern Europe. I've been like last year. I had a big concert with an orchestra, and I've been one day earlier there because I need to set up the things.
Right.
And the local crew, very, very interesting people. In this case, Romanian is more near to Latin and Italian than it is to Russian
Right.
language. So for me, when they spoke very slowly, I could, like, I won't say that I understood everything, but
Right.
you can
Right.
connect a little bit. And they told me, yeah, you need to visit this and that, but pay attention. Don't go in that part of the city because they're
Right.
more conservatives and everything. I think this is everywhere. But honestly, my experience has been like people are really more curious to who you are before judging you or you say you are not welcome.
Right.
I mean, at least I think maybe they got prejudice on you, or in our case, color of the skin. That's more, I think, more natural prejudice that a human being can have, I
Right.
guess.
Yeah.
And but then I don't know, you drink something or you talk a little bit, you say, oh, and then suddenly this border just disappear because you see that you can talk. And I also have this dog with a friend. She's living in St. Petersburg in Russia. So now with this war that we're having here in Europe. Social media always push on something political. Politic also push a lot, and that brings out this topic in this part because also music scene, the music is also a lot involved in this nowadays,
Right.
and. And I asked them, "Hey, what's going on? I'm studying when there was COVID. I started learning Russian because I said I want to learn something. I have time, what I
Right.
want to learn. I could learn my mother tongue Hindi, but I decided that Russian was, I don't know, more interesting at the time. So I said, what's going on? What if I come visit you or want to visit the country? How should I expect it? And they say, I think that it's not different than other countries. And then she told me, people here are just curious sometimes because Russia is so big and some
Right.
places never seen like a dark skinned person.
Right.
And she said, before jumping the idea that people have something against you, just figure that maybe are just curious or they just don't know what to expect.
Right.
And
Exactly.
and then I just see how even for me as a Swiss person, I got this kind of prejudice about some certain countries. And in this case, like for example, Russia, they come from the American mentality, let's say,
Oh, absolutely.
that
No, absolutely.
where you divided the Cold War dividing between the good and the bad. And you grow up, you study this thing at school with this rhetoric, and then you start connecting with people and you talk and you see we have listen to the same music, we have the same passion, we have the same problems, let's say,
Right.
and so this is interesting because music brought out a lot of interesting thing. And for example, you were talking about the band Speed,
Hmm.
and every there was some dude online. I don't make any names, but they was talking trash about the fact that they didn't play to a festival for certain reason, ethical reasons, and then they
Right.
had a band that just jump in with Nike for the collaboration. And then I was thinking, what's the problem with you? This is you're just confusing people even more. Because if I think classical hardcore scene kid he wears not it's not Nike hair or like this. He's always been there. It's not
Right.
that we are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do Louis Vuitton slash
Right.
hate breed connection. That would be a little bit
Yeah, that'd be
cringe, I would
different.
say.
Well, like Nike's huge in hardcore.
Yeah, right. So it's not.
Nike's, Jordans, like there's always been that kind of like street fashion where, and like
Yes.
a lot of basketball sneakers and stuff. It's like it's not new, So
No. And about this other story about this other dude that honestly musically is quite talented, I think. He show a lot of passion in what he's doing. But then there's all this background about his past and relation and affiliation and everything. I can only say something. I don't know this person and the what I heard from him, it seems legit. But I can only speak about myself. I got some friends in the hardcore scene that once they told me, when I was 20, I was in a neo-Nazi group. And
right,
now he's totally another person, like, I mean, he learned something from that experience. So I got this in my private life, and this person, one of my best friends ever. And so I think if it happens to him, it could happen to everybody, like it's so easy to be judgmental everything and then there's always this idea of how can I detach the artist from the music,
right,
and now in the hardcore scene now we're talking about some lead singer of Azalai dying. Like this is the biggest guest topic because we all,
right,
I mean, me and you for sure. I mean, I love Azalai dying, and I always thought it was a very cool band, and I knew that it was in the beginning very Christian also.
right,
So white metal and all this stuff and everything. Then that was what happened. And I got some friends touring with Lambiese's project, Austrian Death Machine,
right.
recently.
Yeah,
And honestly, I had to be on tour with them, but
right,
something didn't work with the van, so I couldn't join the crew. But the fact is that why you people are nowadays are so easy to judge suddenly. I mean, it's important to have your own opinion. That's okay.
right,
That's what is focal is in so like that. But then going online, it could be X slash Twitter or other thing and starting blah 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 on everything. It's so easy nowadays, and I think it's a little bit sad because you keep listening to Michael Jackson music, and Michael Jackson, I love Michael Jackson, but he is still nowadays for me like a shitty character. Let's say you don't
right,
really
right,
know what's going on. You take other musicians and you love their sound, but then you discover, hmm, that was a little bit, I don't know. When you read the biography
right.
years later, you discover also dark sides, and then you say, wait a minute. Yeah, and I think it is something kind of sad because if you don't really know to because it influenced a lot the way people have this perception of the music, you know. And
Right,
in a scene like our the hardcore scene, the metal scene, that is quite small in the end, I would
right,
say. He resonate even not easiest and bigger and wider if somebody keep pushing in that direction. So
right.
I don't know, but
So yeah, it's just like with music, movies, just anything, because people are so celebrity obsessed and tend to put people on pedestals, and it's like you don't know these people outside of whatever you've seen them in. So musically, As I Lay Dying actually was a huge thing for me. The first show I ever went to when I was like 14, I saw As I Lay Dying before they blew up, which was really cool. They were super nice dudes. Like Tim was very sociable, very
mhm.
appreciative of his, fans and stuff like that. And it's funny, there was that when the As I Lay Dying DVD came out years later, there was one scene from the show that I went to where the camera misses me by like half an inch. I was like, no,
No.
I'm literally standing right next to where they stopped. Because like me and two friends that I went with, we were the only ones who knew who they were.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like they had put out a split CD, which I still have. I had them sign it and I have, so I have his signature and stuff on it. And we were the only people who knew like what song they were gonna play. I was like, play forever. And he's like, this goes out to those two kids right there. I was like, yes. And man, it was badass. They played in like a small skate park and there was no stage. They played in a half pipe, which was
Oh, nice.
awesome.
It's
It
a
was
classic. I
so
love it. Yeah.
so cool. So cool, man. Like I remember Tim got hit in the face by the bass player
Oh.
and he was bleeding and he never stopped. And I remember these kids in the crowd were just like jaws dropped, just like, dude, that was so metal. you know, and just like the leaving that lasting impression. But like over the years, like I saw As I Lay Dying probably about 4 or 5 times. And
Mm-hmm.
Tim, like I always talked to Tim, he was like super nice. And I was just so bummed out when all that stuff happened with him and his, ex-wife and,
Yeah.
trying to hire somebody to kill her because he was juiced out of his mind on steroids. He turned into a real life Bane from Batman. And, just like kind of watching him spiral, because he went from
Mm-hmm.
that, when we went to prison, he like became very anti-Christian and like blaming everybody else, like not taking responsibility, which now I think he's kind of, I want to say, more himself than he had been in that whole process. But like sometimes, I'll see interviews with him. I'm just like, he's still kind of borderline an asshole, just because it's like, I think in his brain, he feels abandoned and stuff. It's like, and to a point, I get that, but it's like, dude, that was really shitty. It's just like,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things. It's just like, bro, like you almost could have had your wife, the mother of your child,
Yeah.
killed because she wanted a divorce, man. That's crazy. And
Yeah.
I remember I worked at a passport office, and I remember coming across his wife's passport. I was like, oh, shit. It's like, just seeing that name, like, oh my God, that's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
And but I think I think he's regretful and just how things wound up. Some dudes still mess with him. He's got a new lineup for As I Lay Dying, but it's like, dude, you kind of got to take the good with the bad with that and just realize you fucked up. Like that's on you. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people have forgiven him, and they love the music. And I mean, As I Lay Dying's a great band, great band. And they've influenced a lot of people with their sound. And I love pretty much most of what they've put out. And I still, it still comes across playlists and stuff at times. It was like, man, this is heavy. It's really good. It's tight, great production, just good songs. And was just like, dude, you can apologize to your blue in the face. Just some people aren't gonna mess with you. Some people are.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of gotta roll with that, and that's just part of life.
Yeah, there is a very nice interview with him, and I totally forget his name. He's a very important radio and TV figure in the States, and interview him, and of course, one of the biggest topic is what happened, and I think in that interview, it shows that, of course, he learned something from all this,
Right,
but at the same time, it's clearly that there is some redemption. I guess maybe in a more religious way, like people
right.
suddenly see the lights. I mean, there's also figure of speeching who say, "Oh, something changed,"
Hmm.
but at the same time, I get in that interview show that he knows that he has to live with the consequences.
Right,
And that was quite interesting, and to hear, because in some ways you have this expectation to to see an interview when somebody said, yes, I was this, I was that, but I don't think it's gonna happen, because our expectation, we don't know nothing, as you said, about many people and the way they
right.
deal with something, and everything. And the same reason we did other singer, and I can't make the name. I'm talking about Alex Terrible. I think I was hearing some talk. Sometimes he uses social media to speak his mind and everything. And I got this feelings that it's genuine when he said, I lived some moment in my life, and now I know where I am, and I think I am where I'm right now because I made changes in my life,
Right.
and this is always important to try to see, to hear. And I totally respect. Something that I'm a little bit scared of nowadays is that, even because artists thankfully have a lot of impact. I mean, from one side, I've always been kind of reluctant to see that even politic related, sometimes politicians are not able to be convincing as some Hollywood actors
Oh,
can
absolutely.
be,
Yeah,
and so I
absolutely.
say that's not good, because those are the politicians, those are artists, those are actors. And so musician has this power to reach a lot of people.
Hmm.
And uh and uh, I think that the problem is not free speech. The problem is to learn that free speech as a border, at still have some kind of limitation, and it goes in
Right,
between when your free speech is just becoming really offensive, and not because being on a different opinion of somebody else, it's amazing because it create the dialogue, it create the change of opinions. But then nowadays, we don't need we don't need to think that free speech means saying I can say whatever I want.
right. It's
And
like, but the
so,
thing that comes with free speech is consequences. It's like,
yeah.
yes, everybody has a right to think and say what they want, but everyone also has the right to react to how they want to. So it's like you gotta kind of take that as like, I remember saying, recently there was the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs spoke at a graduation
Hmm.
for a school that the college he went to, and he basically kind of said is like, basically a woman, he's like, women shouldn't focus, like your focus should be on being a wife and a mother,
Oh,
and
yeah.
basically being like a stay at home mom, and your family should be the most important thing to you. And it's like, he has a right to have that opinion. The platform was wrong because you're standing in front of a graduating class of both women and men and women.
Hmm.
They don't want to hear that shit, dude. They just spent however many years to get their degree, and you're telling them, go, your main focus now should be being a wife and a mother. It's like, you don't get to say that. One, you're a dude, so shut up. You don't get to tell a woman what to do. And, there are a lot of people who agreed with him, even women. And I'm like, and, he gets made fun of a lot, and I tend to make fun of him because I think it's hilarious. I'm like, dude, you're a kicker. No one's listening to you. You're a kicker, like on probably the best football team in the modern football, NFL era. You barely play. You barely have a job. No one's listening to you. You you have the weakest position in football. Shut up.
Yeah, I see
Like,
what you
oh, it's
mean.
like, why
Yeah.
don't you go at home and raise the kids and be a stay-at-home dad? And
Yeah, there is this illusion, this idea of bringing always keep bringing this I don't know if I can call it like agenda or like let's be honest. Let's take an example like family tradition here in
Right,
Switzerland, but like in Italy, we talk a lot about the traditional family. It's
right.
translated, like, and of course that means that your wife, because you have to be married,
Hmm.
you have to get kids, and you go to work, and your wife, your work, the work is family.
Right.
And I come from a family. My adoptive parents have been my dad and my mom have been both teachers.
Hmm.
And when they adopted my older sister, my mom decided to become a mom and stay home. But
Right.
it was choice. My dad didn't say you have to stay home, and
Right.
so I've learned that it exists, this balance. It's a reality. I saw this in
Absolutely.
my family. I saw it, and I've learned a lot from what my parents told me. Like I did catechism, I mean Bible school, and because it belongs to the culture from where I come from. But my
Right.
parents says that when you're at the moment you say you don't believe in that, but I consider myself more a spiritual person. But I had Bible studies, I did religion study at the university because it's a topic that interests myself.
Right.
But just to say, I had all the opportunities to become one of these person or this man in this case because of my gender. Um, where I would say, yeah, I'm looking for a woman, a partner, a woman that stay at home and everything, and we need to go every Sunday in church because it's also
Right.
what
Right.
happened. Where I come from is part of the tradition of the region, but it's not happening because my parents still gave me this option. It was like discover the world with your eyes, and this is the most important thing. Um, but as you said, there's this live with the consequences once again when you say something and when you preach something. And sometimes I also think that with music, artists don't have really they don't have really to be also visually a lot how can I say, rebellious. Like, I mean, in music we always have been, let's taking Elton John in the 80s and everything. Like the way you wear and everything, but the fact
Right.
that the music always brings, in our case, music brings a lot of message with, you know but nowadays some artists just put more like kind of ideas and everything the way they look like, and not I feels that the music they're making nowadays is less powerful, or is powerful, but you don't get it all of it because you
Right.
just focus on how people looks like, let's say.
Right. I think yeah, I grew up in a home I was raised by a single mom, and I have a relationship with my dad too, but mainly most of the time, most of growing up, I was raised by a single mom, and also strong influence from my grandparents. So a lot of what I learned to like be a humble person from my mom is a pastor, in a
Hmm.
Christian, in the Christian faith. And I always kind of, she always let me kind of do my own thing. It's like, and I still consider myself a Christian, but I also don't really go to church because I don't believe in the way it functions. I feel like they missed the boat a lot.
Hmm.
And but just having ideology for yourself and your own beliefs, like for me it was straight edge, and also just kind of just I focus more on being a good person versus like any kind of religious thing.
Hmm.
It's just like, because that's, people see you as you, not what you say you believe in or whatever and like that, because everyone's always curious, everyone's always gonna just see you for how you present yourself. So I focus more on like being like, nah, man, I chill. I don't push anything on anybody. I don't push straight edge on anybody. I don't push my beliefs of any kind on anybody, because we are all different, raised different, make our own decisions differently. So that's just the cool thing about life.
Hmm.
If everyone thought the same way, it would just be boring. It would be no point.
Yeah.
I like diversity. People, like I said, people have a right to think whatever they want, but it's just like, the thing that changed is now everyone, because of social media, has a platform
Yeah.
to push whatever, however their views are. It's like, and I remember somebody, being like, "Oh, he's not as bad as so and so," or like this other person's like, Yeah, but here's the thing: is like where everybody has a right to feel the way they feel. Not everybody needs a platform to spew it because they don't know what to do with it. But it's like because everyone has a platform now, you also have to deal with how people feel about what you're saying. It's
Hmm.
like you can't just be like throw out all your opinions and then be mad because someone disagreed with it. It's like not the way life works, man.
Yeah.
Where you
Oh.
he's like you have a right to say what you want, but people have a right to make fun of you for saying it.
Yeah, it's like there is like suddenly and even more faster. There's like a new way to spread messages and everything. Like,
Hmm.
or maybe also not learning how to be critical with yourself or for what you do, and that means just talking with more people or go reading some books or
Right.
learning how to research, do your research. But also is always more faster. So we are maybe um I personally notice that sometimes I'm not used to this kind of rhythm of getting information or reaction of people, and I think we can connect all these things. Last thing we were saying about the fact that, as you said, you went to Europe, you met people, you talked to people, and you like open a little bit more and
Right.
even more your idea and your minds and discovering your thing and. Please always say it's not the first podcast where I said so that if you have the chance, go out and talk to people. This is also the reason why I'm doing Music to Live for with Shanti because many things I've learned in my job. I mean, I went to the university, I did an internship and everything, but most of the things I've learned because I shared time and
Right.
experience with other people, you know. And
Absolutely.
sometimes I notice that there is other colleagues are not used to share opinions or advertise because they suddenly think, oh, they're gonna steal something from me. But it's not the
Right.
case. I just want to hear what you do, what you think about this and that. And then it's like before. It's not that I'm gonna grab something from you, but this interaction, this direct interaction, say something, ask something, give him an answer, having feedbacks and everything can just help you and change. Man, I always said we were talking about some music teachers a couple of episodes ago and say, you know, young artists, young people out there, just don't be shy. Just go and
Right.
talk to your idols, talk to the older people because they have this experience they are missing. Sometimes my line of duty I like to share with youngest people because
Hmm.
they see situation with different eyes. So it
Right.
could be interesting. You can learn something from them and vice versa. And this is, I guess, the one of the biggest. Once you get this, once you go out of your selfish zone and self-protecting zone, you will see that you become even more stronger.
Right.
And I notice also that for me, having the strategy, having this idea, um, I got some kind of interaction and people took me very serious from the beginning.
Right.
And this is I really appreciate it because it's not just because maybe I got my way to talk to people, my way to interact, but they also maybe were working like 2 3 days together and so they see how my daily routine is, oh I'm working, how my mind works and everything. And I
Right.
notice people even they wouldn't say this openly, they always check this out. So I think this is, to me, this idea of, as I said, the strategy things always important. Once again, even with the religion thing, is like it's not that you are preaching out there or like pushing that, not stuff, but create your identities, make you feel good. And of course, if this is really music related, people gonna feel that connection
Absolutely.
and just go out and talk to people. And Aaron, it was amazing to talk to you. I think we can close here this episode. Of course, there could be maybe in the future another occasion. I don't know if in the near future you said you have a new band right now. I don't know
Right.
if in the future will be the possibility to meet in person if because you're touring to Europe again, or I will come to the United States. It will be a very pleasure to make also an episode face to face, really in real life. It's gonna be amazing. I thank you very much for your time, for
Oh,
sharing
absolutely.
your idea, your experience. For the audience, you can find all the information about your bands and what you do in life in the description of the episode. This episode will be available on YouTube, but also on Spotify, Deezer, and Apple Podcasts. So whatever you want to listen to is gonna be there. Share with your friends, support the podcast. Aaron, Thank you very much. Do you have a last message for the audience?
Just be creative, be open, be diverse, just appreciate life as it is, and just take whatever lessons you can from it. And
Yeah.
always hardcore music on top.
Yeah, let's go for it. Thank you, my friend.
All right, thank you.